Establish your brand authority as we lead towards the forthcoming general elections.
Mundos divididos por una sombra de traición.
I just found out that Antonio Miranda is your father. Why did you abandon my mother when she was pregnant with me? Why did you do that?
I just came here to tell you that you deserve to be here.
I want you to spend the rest of your life with me.
What?
Mariela, as your lawful wedded wife?
Lying heart.
Trust me, Maya anafanya hivi kwa ajili ya manufaa ya kampuni hii yetu siku zijazo.
Roho yangu ndio inauma.
Why dear?
Achana na mke wangu.
Una maisha gani wewe kama si mimi na nguvu zangu?
Huyu ana nia nzuri na wewe.
Sitaki watchdog na mapenzi yangu mimi na Leo.
Badi, mimi sina roho kama yako.
Pili, hufai kuzungumziwa hivyo dadangu.
Basi hayo ndio mambo wanashindana kila siku, matusi.
A true love in which family will be the main hardship to achieve happiness.
Well, I understand it, Mom, but I don't want to break up with Adrian.
Paulina will have to confront her own father. And Adrian will suffer due to his sister Julieta's obsession.
No! Not with her! No! Not with her! No!
Paulina is the woman I truly love!
No!
But regardless of jealousy and intrigue,
Karen, open the door, please!
they will fight for their love until the end.
Crazy? If you want to die, go ahead. Don't get me involved.
Tell me now. You knew Pinky was killed by Jack a long time ago, didn't you?
Are you all finished here? Stop causing trouble in my house.
I don't want money. I want my sister back.
I really didn't kill your sister.
Ethan.
Do you want me to call the police?
We're standing on the road. This isn't your turf. We're doing nothing wrong. Even if the police do come, they can't accuse us of anything.
Is Jack at home? I'm taking him away from here. It's the only way I can save him.
What?
Good afternoon. This is Lunchtime News. I trust you're having a lovely day so far. Well, here on Lunchtime News, we have a comprehensive bulletin lined up. And my name is Jackie Wambiru. Our sign language interpreter is Anne Wangeshi. And to kick us off, we shall be crossing over to Kisumu County, where the Orange Democratic Movement Party is conducting its primaries in Kisumu. And the Orange Democratic Movement Party is conducting nominations for the Kisumu Central, Kisumu East, Muhoroni and Nyakach for the constituencies, as well as the Senate and women representative seats, including MCAs across the 35 wards. These are some of the stories that we shall be taking a look at. And as we move on to a different story, Incumbent Suna West member of Parliament Peter Masara will fly the Orange Democratic Movement party ticket as he seeks to retain the seat in the forthcoming general polls. Masara defeated his only challenger for the party ticket, Joseph Ndiege, during the ODM party primaries held Monday, having garnered 8,799 votes over 8,671. And now allow me to take us back to the Kisumu primaries, which are ongoing, where the Orange Democratic Movement Party is conducting its primaries in Kisumu. And the nominations, remember, are being conducted in Kisumu Central, Kisumu East, Muhoroni and Nyakach for MP's position, as well as Senate and women representative seats, including MCAs across the 35 wards. Now we link up with our reporter Achola Simon, who has been manning the ground and who will update us on the developments. Achola, bring us to speed.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Jackie Wambiru. As you've rightly put it, we are actually in Kisumu County, and where I'm standing as I speak right now is actually under the Kondele flyover. Now, each and every person who knows Kisumu very well, this is where actually indicates what exactly is happening in Kisumu if things are not going right. And as you can see behind me, the ongoing process of nomination is actually going on peacefully, a clear indication of exactly what is happening across this county. Yes, we have reported a number or a pocket of instances here and there, but not to the magnitude that would actually disrupt the ongoing process today. And I can assure you that the process actually kicked off 6 a.m. in the morning as it was slated, and it has gone on peacefully. And of course, here at Kondele flyover, which is usually called Kondele Tent Polling Station, can actually attest to what I am actually saying. And I will just speak to a number of locals here who've actually come here who will put us into perspective of exactly how this process has been since morning up until now. Karibu sana ndugu yangu.
Asante sana.
Hebu tueleze unaitwa nani na utueleze hii shughuli inaendelea vipi kutokea asubuhi?
Naitwa Samuel Ochieng Dongela. Hii shughuli ilikuwa inaenda polepole asubuhi, lakini wakati kama hizi tunaona shughuli inaenda mufti, watu wanapiga kura, mimi nishapiga yangu. Tunangoja tu matokeo jioni na raia wametulia.
Raia wametulia vizuri sana. Swali ambalo wengi wangetaka kujua ni kwamba unajua hapo awali katika sehemu zingine tumesikia kwamba vifaa ama patakalishi vya kupiga kura vilikuwa na matatizo kadha wa kadha. Lakini hivi leo utueleze hapa iko namna gani?
Hapa kulikuwa na changamoto kidogo wakati ya saa 1, saa 2, lakini kufikia saa 3:30 hapo shughuli zilianza na mpaka saa hizi inaendelea taratibu.
Tuna shughuli yenyewe inaenda taratibu sana jinsi ulivyosema. Hivi mnafurahishwa jinsi shughuli inavyoendelea?
Mimi kama mwana ODM tunashukuru juu tunaona amani na tunaona mpangilio ya chama iko imara na tuna njia nyingine. Sisi ni wanachama na tutatimiza.
Kwa mara ya kwanza chama inatumia technology kufanya hii shughuli. Mnafurahia jinsi shughuli inavyoendelea ama warejea katika ile shughuli ya kitambo?
Tunafurahia hii juu unajua hapa Kondele ni mali pa vurugu. Ukileta ile shughuli ya kitambo kila mtu ataleta mambo zake. Shughuli ya sahihi kama hii ya digital tunapenda sana na tunashukuru kwa chama.
Shukran sana. We have another resident here who will actually tell us exactly how he's actually seen the process and if indeed he likes what is going on.
Okay, nikijieleza kwa majina naitwa John Atuoto, ni kwa mkazi wa Kisumu. Me what I like to say, in the morning we had a little ish because of the network, I think so. But the returning officer came and did what he's supposed to be doing, na tunaendelea vizuri. So the only thing I want to appreciate Raila Amolo Odinga as a party leader. Thank you Mheshimiwa for doing this thing, the digital one. Because ingekuwa ile ballot ya kutupa makaratasi, sasa hata ungejua Kondele iko aje. Sasa hivi tunachungwa na polisi wawili peke yake. OCS ndako hapa na polisi mmoja. Kuna kelele, very peaceful. And I thank you Mheshimiwa for that. Wewe ni mwerevu.
Thank you very much. Let's hear from him. Kindly tell us your name and tell us why you're here.
I'm Derek from Kisumu.
Yes, Derek. So far, how do you see the process and do you like what you're seeing?
Okay, the today nominations, it's calm. There was no form of any disruption. We thank God for that. The digital form has really helped a lot. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name's Hesbon Odhiambo Ngany.
Yes, Hesbon.
And alias Ongany Boda Generali. I'm a resident of Kisumu County, Kondele polling station. First of all, I want to take this great opportunity that you have granted us at the media to address
tell us about the process.
Our residents. The process has been good, although it has been, from the beginning, it was having a little challenges concerning the gadgets, but it was rectified.
Very well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Of course, Jackie, quite universal views from members of the public here. Each and every one of them, of course, saying they are content with what they are seeing from today's process. Each and every one of them, of course, saying the process started quite slow in the morning, but as we speak right now, it has actually picked up. And most of them are actually hailing the fact that ODM party has adopted technology in terms of doing party primaries. And they are hoping that, of course, going forward, this will continue in terms of ensuring that they identify or elect leaders who are actually going to fly the flag of ODM in the August general poll. What I would want actually to put also across is the fact that there are a number of seats that are actually being watched closely. Key among them, of course, Kisumu Central. We know that, of course, will be watched closely because of course, the incumbent Fred Ouda is actually up against Joshua Ron. We also know the women's seat, women representative seat is also being watched closely because Raila Odinga's younger sister, Ruth Odinga, is also contesting in that particular seat. And of course, those are some of the seats that we'll actually be keeping a keen eye on to just get to see how things will be actually unfolding. But what most of the residents here in Kisumu County are saying, they are actually very happy with how the process has actually been running since morning, and they hope that the same manner will continue up until they actually find candidates who are actually going to fly the flag of ODM in the August general poll. Back to you, Jackie Wambiru.
Well, thank you so much, Simon Achula. They are giving us an update from Kisumu County, where the Orange Democratic Movement Party is conducting its party primaries. We shall be bringing you more details as we move on. For now, let's move on to a separate matter where ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna now says constituent parties of the Azimio Coalition Party will field candidates in Nairobi County. Sifuna has also called on members of the party to focus on the bigger need to ensure Raila Odinga clinches the presidency in the August elections.
ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna says the party will field candidates in all elective positions in Nairobi region. In what appears to be differing with his colleague in Jubilee Party, Jeremiah Kioni, Sifuna says ODM is confident with its numerical strength in Nairobi and has no problem with other parties in Azimio fielding their own candidates.
There is agreement that let everybody field their own candidates because it is going to be very difficult to reach consensus on who drops out for whom. So in the interest of saving all of us unnecessary tears, let every political party, because you see from the side of ODM, we are very confident because of the work we have done.
On the ongoing friction within the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party, Sifuna has called on members of the party to focus on the bigger picture, that is ensuring party leader Raila Odinga clinches the presidency in the August elections.
This is a family of 28 political parties from different backgrounds, people of different philosophies, but all who have agreed that their one objective is to ensure that Raila Odinga becomes the president of the republic.
And Nairobi County gubernatorial aspirant Tim Wanyonyi has urged Kibra residents to scrutinize the track record of those seeking elective positions.
Wale wanaishi na nyinyi hapa mnawajua. Msipigie watu ambao mkishapika kura wanahama wanaenda. Pigia watu ambao ukiwa na shida watafika kwenu. Sawa sawa? Na hao MCAs ndio watakuwa macho yenu kwangu. Mimi ndauliza yeye hapa Lindi na kunakaa namna gani? Waislamu wangu, wanupi wangu wanakaa namna gani?
While Busia Deputy Governor Moses Mulomi has moved to consolidate his backyard Butula constituency a few days after receiving the DAP Kenya certificate to vie for governor.
Nipatia nafasi mimi mwenyewe nikiwa kiongozi wa hiyo kazi, nataka kuhakikishia ya kwamba hiyo kazi itafanyika.
Elsewhere, Pamoja African Alliance Party members in Malindi town are protesting against alleged injustice in the party primaries.
Tumewapatia masaa 24. Kesho tunaenda kwa kura. Kesho sisi twajua ni mchujo. Masaa 24 haki itendeke ndani ya Malindi.
Na nataka nitume ujumbe huu kwa party leader wa PA ambaye anayajua yale maamuzi. Maana haiwezekani iwe yeye hajui ndani ya board kunaendelea nini.
They gave the party leader Amason Kingi 24 hours to intervene, or else they will hold another meeting and chart the way forward.
Still on matters politics, the Federation of Kenya Employers is warning that any form of political violence ahead of the August general elections could be detrimental to the business environment in the country. The Federation's Executive Director Jacqueline Mogo says there is need to identify and elect leaders who are mindful of the business environment.
The Federation has maintained that it won't be supporting any political faction in the forthcoming general elections, but will be keen on a leader who will be pro-business.
We want to have discourse that is respectful. We want social dialogue, and even when parties disagree, we all commit to maintaining peace. The Federation would like to see an electioneering process that is open, fair, and just, so that we can have confidence in the outcome.
Executive Director Jacqueline Mugo said the leader should be able to stabilize the country's middle-income economy.
We would like to see value addition and value chain development, because markets were destroyed by the pandemic, and we need markets for our goods and services, particularly within Africa. We'd like to see the adoption of technology by enterprises and by government increasingly in the way it offers services.
She further lauded the admission of the Democratic Republic of Congo into the East African community, saying FKE was ready to assist its members have their presence felt in the regional economic market. Yusufar reporting for Lunchtime News.
And now on health matters, civil societies and mental health specialists in Isiolo County have raised concerns over the increasing cases of mental health illnesses in the region. They have appealed to the county devolved government and development partners to focus more on improving service delivery in the relevant department through allocation of more resources to effectively address the emerging challenge.
Health experts in Isiolo have opined that mental health ought not to be given a backseat when tackling illnesses in the region. Valentine Nyagodhi, coordinator of Pastoralist Gender Initiative, noted that the bulk of registered cases of mental health problems, especially among the youth, are as a result of drug and substance abuse.
Ni muhimu sana kaunti yetu iweze kuangalia na iweze kuleta capacity all the way from primary health care tukipanda juu. Manake tunaona huu ni ugonjwa ambao pia umeleta na ukaleta the rise kwa masuala ya gender-based violence.
Abdi Wako from Isiolo Human Rights Defenders said the mental health department lacks adequate resources to enhance treatment and care for those with mental health illnesses. He noted that there was need for the county government to establish more facilities at Merti and Garbatula level 4 hospitals, as well as hire more specialists in order to improve service delivery.
County government yetu ya Isiolo ikipitia county assembly iweze kuhakikisha imeweka mikakati ya kuweza kuweka rasilimali katika mambo ya mental health katika kila department, kwa sababu tumekuwa pale mbele hatujaweza kuwa na specific fund ambayo inaenda direct katika mental health. Pesa mingi labda zinaenda katika health lakini haiendi direct.
Health Rights Advocacy Forum HERAF coordinator Mary Kimunto said Isiolo residents need to be proactive in efforts to formulate the county integrated development plans. Frederick Kenaro Maina, a caregiver whose wife and 2 daughters suffer from mental health illnesses, lauded the impact of the Breaking Barriers to Mental Health program being rolled out by HERAF, noting that it had helped reduce stigma for those affected and their families.
Naomba pia serikali itilie maanane sana mambo haya, kwa sababu gharama za matibabu ya magonjwa ya akili imekuwa juu sana, na wakati mwingine unakuja ukuta wengine hawataki kuhudhuria hospitali kwa sababu wanaambiwa wakanunue madawa. So hiyo mambo ya ugonjwa ya akili ingefanywa free ili kila mtu aweze kufikiza mgonjwa yake hospitali.
Beatrice Gatonyengetich, Lunchtime News.
And now we cross over to Mombasa County, where the 45th Kesha Annual Conference is ongoing at the Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Hall. And today is the second day of the conference. And Kesha Chairman Alfred Indimoli proposed a push for an increase in school capitation to 28% to make it 30,000 per child and not the 22,000 that they're grappling with. Well, let's listen in.
Conceptually, in terms of the methodology, we are going to get anything different from what we did in the school or in the university or in college. What is going to happen is reorientation, that now let's start moving from this extreme side of the continuum and let's move slowly. And we may have challenges in the second process, the second component, which I said the process, the implementation process. And I've heard, again, some people refer to our colleagues in the secondary, that teachers in secondary schools have not been trained on CBC. Again, I could be wrong, you may know better. If you're starting to implement CBC this year, and it will be getting to the secondary school after 7 years, you don't train them now and tell them go home and wait and implement it or put those skills into use after those 7 years. Actually, I had the privilege of attending some of the best skills that have been seen, like in Shanghai in China, or now teachers engage in continuous capacity building. And one of the things that we came out, I don't know whether I was with you, Ruben, but I was with colleagues from TSC, is that they have a community of service in every region. What they do is that, like teachers of maths, once in a month, in a zonal level, come together to share experiences of what they're doing, and in the process, they document that becomes part of their data, and they come up with solutions. And in the process, they keep improving on their skills. Again, I didn't come here to give a lecture on CBC. Let me take water. But I needed to explain that.
Well, that is Education Principal Secretary Julius John speaking at the 45th Kesha Conference, which is ongoing in Mombasa County. We shall be bringing you more details in our subsequent bulletins. For now, we move on. The Orange Democratic Movement aspirant for Makadara constituency, Ruben Ndolo, has promised to embark on completing the development projects he had started in the constituency before he lost the seat. Ndolo, who was touring the Wandani area, claimed the constituency had lagged behind in development since 2013.
Jamani, huyu mzee wetu tariki 21 tunakwenda kwa mambo ya nomination. Na nyinyi mnajua ile kazi yetu, si ndio? Ile matusi tumetukanwa, ile uongo tumedanganywa. Toka mimi nimetoka more than 10 years, sijaona maendeleo yote hapa hata moja wameweka. Kwa hiyo mimi nasema hivi, nataka hiyo tariki 21, ndugu zangu, tusicheze tena. Hiyo saa ile mnaenda kupiga hiyo digital, ni kupiga tu hivi pap papu, mnasema nani? Ndolo pap 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 pap, na mambo inaisha.
Mimi nikiingia kama women rep wenyu, ninakuja tutashikana na Ndolo tuweze kuleta maendeleo, tukuwe na points nyingi za maji.
Well, and on that note, we shall be taking a short break. Don't go too far. We still have more news coming up.
The legendary run to Olympia Stadion in Berlin is now less crowded, with only 4 teams out of 64 still in contention. Something more outstanding is that all of the sides to have won the DFB Pokal over the last 29 years are already out this year.
And Leverkusen are knocked out by a Bundesliga 2 side.
In the first DFB Pokal semi-final, Hamburger SV will face Freiburg on Tuesday, the 19th of April 2022 at 9:45 p.m. While in the second semi-final, RB Leipzig will lock horns with Union Berlin on Wednesday, the 20th April 2022 at 9:45 p.m. Having braced the turbulent journey and buoyed up with the trophy in sight, no team want to go down without a fight. You don't want to miss this adventurous football show, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1.
Reporting for Prime
Channel
Edition,
1, your true sports partner.
Crazy? If you want to die, go ahead. Don't get me involved.
Tell me now. You knew Pinky was killed by Jack a long time ago, didn't you?
Are you all finished here? Stop causing trouble in my house.
I don't want money. I want my sister back. I really didn't kill your sister.
Ethan, do you want me to call the police?
We're standing on the road. This isn't your turf. We're doing nothing wrong. Even if the police do come, they can't accuse us of anything.
Is Jack at home? I'm taking him away from here. It's the only way I can save him.
What?
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723 892 654 or 0734 780 124.
Welcome back. Now let's proceed. Unemployment, poverty and illiteracy are among a myriad of challenges young people face in informal settlements. But in Nairobi's Mathare slums, youths have found a lifeline to reliable sources of livelihood thanks to artisan skills they are acquiring from the Mathare Vocational Training College. Let's take a look. In 2016, Francis Ombimo hopped onto the next bus to Nairobi City from Luanda, a rural area in Vihiga County. He left his grandmother's residence with the hope of a better life. On arrival in the city, things were not as he had envisioned. In efforts to improve his life, moving to Mathare informal settlement seemed like the only option. Without formal education or any training, Ombimo found himself struggling as he would not eke a living, a situation that led him on a dark path.
Wanajihusisha kwa mambo mengine mengi ambayo hawezi kusaidia kama ya uni, wizi, mambo yasiyofaa.
Ni kijana alikuwa amepotelea huku mtaani na ambapo hakuwa na kazi na alikuwa amejihusisha na dawa na pombe na bangi zote. So ni muhimu kwa vijana kama hawa, na si kupenda kwao sana. Wengi ni kukosa fedha za kuendelea shule. Sasa wanaona wabaki kwa kijiji, lakini naona kama Francis anasaidika.
His life took a turn when he enrolled with Mathare Vocational Training College.
Program nimejifundisha mambo mengi kwa sababu kabla tuende course ya mambo na ufundi niliweza kufundishwa mambo mengi ikiwemo life skills, jinsi ya kukaa na jinsi ya kuashate kwa kijiji na wanakijiji, na pale nikaweza kujifundisha adabu, jinsi ya kujitafutia, jinsi ambavyo mikono zangu na passion yangu yenye iko ndani mwangu inaweza nisaidia kimaisha.
Upon successful completion of the training, Ombimo was offered a startup kit comprising essential tools to assist him embark on a career as an electronics technician.
The youths were able to sit for their NITA exam, that is National Industrial Training Authority, whereby they were certified. And then after that, Save the Children were able to provide startup kits for the youths. The startup kits were meant for the youths to boost whatever they had studied for.
Ombima was among the first 200 beneficiaries of the project dubbed Nituze, spearheaded by Save the Children Kenya in partnership with Nairobi and Turkana County governments.
The main objective of the project is to empower youths with skills that they are able to earn a living, and as they continue to earn a living, they are able to continue serving their local community.
Mathare Informal Settlement Elder Dorcas Njoki pointed out that the youth in informal settlements face a myriad of challenges such as unemployment, alcohol and drug abuse, among others.
Unaona vijana, mtu anafika study 8 ama amefika form 4, unakuta huyo kijana amekosa tamaa ya kusoma ama ya maisha, kwa sababu anaona mama pengine hana uwezo. Sasa kijana anaenda kutafuta kibarua, ile kibarua naye inamuingiza kwa mahali si papoa.
In this area, majority or most of them, they are engaged in drug abuse, petty crimes, and such a program, Ibitibet model, it has brought the skills. The youths are able now to leave those crimes and be able to do a positive impact in their livelihoods.
Lauding the project as it offers the youth opportunities to acquire employable skills in various sectors that can earn them a living and support their families. Mathare Vocational Training College Principal James Simiyu said that the government acknowledges vocational education and technical training as a paramount component in the country's development.
It has also cut the criminal activities by a very big margin, because when we engage students around here, you find that they cannot go out there and engage themselves into any other criminal activities.
Simiyu stated that there is a recurrent shortage of artisans, plumbers, among others, calling on the youth to consider opportunities that would empower them to acquire technical skills, become job creators and active players in the economy.
It gives them an opportunity to compete with others out there. People who didn't have hope, but today, because of the skills they have attained, they have hope.
When I was growing up, actually one of the things I wanted to be employed. But I realized in the market sometimes you don't get employment. But there are other opportunities you can use to make a survival. So this is a good challenge to young people, young men, and especially the youths who maybe don't have enough education, can do what we call vocational training, where be trained something they can use their hand, not only in electronics but in a different field.
And now on to matters of business. Health Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Rashid Aman says technology, digitization and data is key in supporting the efficient use of existing financing, mobilization and additional financing, and improving healthcare delivery and outcomes. Dr. Aman says even though the government has employed the use of technology in scaling up of health coverage, more needs to be done to avail health coverage in those in the informal sector and remote areas.
Towards automating health services has been a steady work in progress. To discuss the cutting-edge catalytic role of digital innovations in healthcare financing and advancing the universal health coverage agenda in Kenya, healthcare stakeholders have converged to further strengthen Kenya's health system.
The telecommunications sector is a key enabler to the country's economic growth. This is evidenced by increased government use of information and communications technology in the provision of e-government services like e-education and now the famous e-citizen. We know that where physical presence is difficult due to lack of adequate specialists or other challenges, that is in the health sector, technology would provide a perfect bridge to healthcare services, connecting healthcare workers to patients.
Healthcare stakeholders from the private sector as well as the national and county governments converged in Nairobi to deliberate on Kenya's digital health innovation towards the universal health coverage.
Digital innovations promote efficient delivery in three key healthcare financing principles of UHC. First, reduced out-of-pocket expenditure. Secondly, accumulation and management of prepaid funds, i.e. pooling of funds. And thirdly, strategic purchasing of health services.
They said digital technology can mobilize additional financing for health, scale health coverage to those who have been excluded from the health system, and improve healthcare delivery and outcomes.
Just to be able to reiterate some of the key issues that have been brought so far, I think one issue that came up was the issue about technology helping us in poverty mapping. And this really focuses on the poor of the poorest, who are at the bottom. So it helps us to identify so that we are able to catch the right fish.
Farm Access used the event to mark its 20th anniversary, with Wasuna saying the organization has contributed to strengthening Kenya's healthcare system by leveraging data and technology to support various initiatives on health financing and delivery. Reporting for Lunchtime News, I am Dutamo Kame.
A local energy solutions manufacturer is warning that many rural households might shift back to open firewood cooking methods due to increased prices of cooking gas and kerosene. Dan Withaker, the managing director of Wisdom Energy Hub, says biomass fuel solutions are a neglected option that households, especially those who keep livestock, could embrace and save over 70% of fuel when compared to firewood.
Kenyans' reception of clean fuel options has been slow, with over 90% of rural households in the country admitting to using firewood as either their main source of cooking fuel or as an alternative. The current increase in cooking gas and kerosene has exacerbated the situation. Now some Kenyan households are scrambling back to non-clean cooking options such as firewood and charcoal, a situation that Wisdom Energy Hub CEO Dan Waithaka says is retrogressive and setting the country back.
Global policies can change and you realize that we don't have access to energy resources that we've always had access to.
In addition, he says, Kenyans would not be saving much in the long run, as open firewood cooking expends more energy per cooking session in comparison to alternative solutions. Waithaka now says Kenyan manufacturers have risen to meet this demand with new biomass fuel GECOs that saves users at least 75% of fuel, all the while using biodegradable waste.
When we come up with such a technology where we are utilizing locally available raw materials and fuels, which are biomass, then we are creating sustainability such that even if global policies come up, we still have available clean cooking solutions and energy sources.
He says the fuel is made from sawdust, bagasse waste, and even coffee husks, alternatives that are readily available and much kinder to the environment.
They are always available with us because they are processes and activities that are always making sure that we have these resources with us.
Hibak Said for Lunchtime News.
In other news, you are likely to experience delays when clearing imported goods after contracts that the Kenya Bureau of Standards had with third-party companies to undertake pre-inspection of goods expired. This means imported goods, with the exception of motor vehicles, spare parts, consolidated goods and goods on transit to other countries, are from the beginning of this month being inspected at the points of entry into Kenya. Kenya Bureau of Standards Managing Director Bernard Njiraini says this is a temporary situation as the agency shops for pre-shipment inspectors.
You are aware we have not been able to conclude the signing of contract with our third-party partners. However, we are saying, and we want to assure Kenyans that we are prepared and we have set up a procedure that guarantees that everything that comes into the country meets the requirement. We have, on a risk-based, criteria, categorized various products. There are those that are low risk and those that will be inspected and through documentation, where it is the responsibility of the exporter to demonstrate that the goods that is exporting to Kenya meets the standards, and that can be done through the documentation, certificate of analysis, test reports that are issued by the exporter. There are those goods that are medium risk, those that have been registered by our PVOC partners in the past. And we are going to use, again, the documentations to verify. We'll do random sampling, physical inspection, and that will also facilitate free movement of these goods into the country. And there are those categories of goods that are very high risk or are categorized as high risk. Those ones will have to do tests to ascertain they meet the requirement.
Normal fuel supply has been restored in the country. This is according to the Ministry of Petroleum and Mining, who say petrol stations are carrying out business as usual, and the scarcity or long queues witnessed over the last 3 weeks are not there anymore.
The 3 weeks of fuel shortage saw motorists spend long hours in queues to get the commodity, while some petrol stations turned away customers due to lack of fuel. The situation has now eased after the ministry announced on Thursday restoration of fuel supply within 72 hours. And today, in a statement, the Ministry of Petroleum and Mining says normalcy in petroleum supply has returned and the long queues witnessed have subsided. The ministry says in the last 4 days, they have dispatched about 10.6 million litres of super petrol and 13.3 million litres of diesel to various petrol stations across the country. Acting Petroleum and Mining Cabinet Secretary Monica Juma says Kenya Pipeline Company has adequate stock and is expected to discharge 120 million litres of super petrol and 212 million litres of diesel in the next few days. Further, the ministry noted that the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, has launched investigations on fuel marketers that did not maintain the minimum operational stocks or were holding petroleum products during the crisis period. The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, also noted that it is set to take stern action on 4 operators who offered petroleum for sale above the recommended price during the fuel supply crisis period. The stations were located at Migori, Kehancha, Awendo and Isabania respectively. Kenyans have also been urged to report oil marketing companies selling fuel at exorbitant prices. Caroline Jenga for Lunchtime News.
Even though owning a property in Kenya has for long been considered a reserve for men, the narrative is slowly changing. Now a majority of real estate companies are tailoring products for women. Here are the details of these and more in our corporate roundup.
Data from the Kenya Land Alliance indicates that only 10.3% of women in Kenya have land title deeds under their names.
In the name of the Son and in the name of the Holy Ghost.
Even with the implementation of a new law allowing women to own property, varied customs and traditions are not very receptive of women owning land or houses. However, this narrative is slowly changing. The majority of real estate companies are now tailoring products that encourage women to invest in property.
Understanding the customer needs. When we talk about most of our houses, since this time we began, there's always been a continuous improvement based on the needs of the customer. But also you look at it from an investment option, that in case your financial wealth grows, it's a home again, you can again live as an investment option.
In our project at Legacy Regis, again we have also have held several activities for women to ensure that they actually acquire these properties. And we have decided to give every woman who want to acquire land or who want to buy a house that either we have finished or a house that we are developing, we are giving them a 5% discount. And this is just for women.
Meanwhile, demand for cotton in the country is steadily rising after several initiatives were put in place under the adoption of BT cotton by the farmers, which has prompted investment in new machinery by textile industries. Thika Cloth Mill's textile industry is now leveraging machine technology to boost efficiency and quality production.
Tunashukuru mwaka jana walitupatia mbegu, wakatupatia na madawa, na mwaka huu pia wametupatia mbegu na bei, na tunashukuru inainua mkulima because it is one of the cash crops za eneo letu na tuna hakika tutaproduce.
We had to invest in the new machines. One is because they're more energy efficient, so it should bring the cost of production down. We get better quality, and people are still asking for more and more better quality. We're also running at full capacity, so if we don't put in the new machines now, then we will not be able to cater the market demands.
Finally, according to Communication Authority, the country is expected to establish 150 5G sites across the country within a year. Kenya and South Africa are the only African countries who are officially trailing out the 5th generation network, even though Uganda, Nigeria, Somalia and Tunisia are also at an advanced stage of joining the list. Oppo Kenya expects the uptake of 5G-ready devices to increase in Kenya, joining other companies that have already ventured to 5G services. According to the mobile phone manufacturer, the latest 5G handset to be launched next week targets young customers with cutting-edge video and photography capabilities, combined with innovative technology and stylish design. Reporting for Lunchtime News, I am Teresa Mutai.
Libya's National Oil Corporation has announced the closure of operations in major oil fields after staff in the key export terminal of Zoitena were blocked from working amid anti-government protests that are interfering with its operation. The facility produces 315,000 barrels per day out of national production of more than 1.2 million barrels per day. Here are the details of these and other news making headlines across Africa.
The National Oil Corporation in Libya regrets the beginning of a painful wave of closure of oil facilities at a time when oil and gas prices are soaring in the international market under the impact of the war in Ukraine. The closure of Zoitina, one of the 4 oil terminals in the Oil Crescent region, will deprive Libya of the export of nearly a quarter of its production. The closure of facilities would affect electricity output at Zoitina and northern Benghazi power plants and also lead to a shortage of cooking gas supplies in eastern Libya. Al Chirara power plant produces 315,000 barrels per day out of national production of more than 1.2 million barrels per day, compared to 1.6 million before 2011. Meanwhile, Nigeria's businessman Aliko Dangote has opened the continent's largest fertilizer plant. The $2.5 billion fertilizer plant, which sits on 1,235 acres of land, has an initial annual production capacity of 3 million metric tons of urea fertilizer. The opening of Dangote fertilizer plant comes amid a supply crunch in crop fertilizers due to sanctions against Russia, which accounted for almost 1/5 of 2021 fertilizer exports. The fertilizer plant is already shipping in the US, Brazil and India and is expected to create 5,000 direct and indirect jobs. Finally, Cape Verde is feeling the real of the high cost of living excreted by the current war in Ukraine. Citizens are worried that producers and traders are taking advantage of the ongoing war to hike food prices, as the country does not have a law that controls prices of commodities. Fuel prices have risen 5% this month, which was the maximum limit stipulated by the government, but have accumulated to an average of 42.6% in the last 1 year.
Sri Lanka says it has requested emergency financial help from the International Monetary Fund as bailout talks got underway on Monday. The Global Financial Organization will consider providing the assistance after representations by neighboring India. Now, here are the details of this and other stories making headlines across the globe.
A leading rating agency warned that Sri Lanka will see a series of defaults on its foreign debts after officials said it would halt payments. It comes as Moody's downgraded its assessment of bonds sold by Sri Lanka. Sri Lankan officials, led by Finance Minister Ali Sebri, are in Washington this week for talks with the IMF as the South Asian nation faces its worst economic crisis in more than 70 years. At a meeting, the IMF commented on the steps already taken by Sebri to mitigate the financial situation in Sri Lanka. Last week, the Sri Lankan government said it would temporarily default on $35.5 billion on its foreign debt as the pandemic and the war in Ukraine made it impossible to make payments to overseas creditors. Meanwhile, a Rolls-Royce design for a small modular nuclear reactor will likely receive UK regulatory approval by mid-2024 and be able to produce grid power by 2029. The British government asked its nuclear regulator to start the approval process in March, having backed Rolls-Royce a $546 million funding round in November to develop the country's first reactor. Policymakers hope modular reactors will help cut dependence on fossil fuels and lower carbon emissions. Finally, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has told US President Joe Biden that India was ready to ship food to the rest of the world following supply shocks and rising prices due to the war in Ukraine. Modi says India had enough food for its 1.4 billion people and it was ready to supply food stocks to the world from tomorrow if the World Trade Organization allowed. Russia and Ukraine are two of the world's major wheat exporters and account for about a third of the global annual wheat sales. The two countries also account for 55% of the global annual sunflower oil exports and 17% of exports of maize and barley. Together, they were expected to export 14 million tons of wheat and over 16 million tons of maize this year, according to FAO.
And on news making headlines across borders, Mali has received another batch of military equipment from Russia after the European Union suspended its military training program with the Sahel nation. Mali's Armed Forces Chief Major General Omar Diarra received 2 combat helicopters and surveillance radars, the Malian presidency said in a statement.
The Malian presidency shared a video showing the equipment as it was delivered by a Russian cargo flight at the airport in the capital, Bamako. Major General Omar Diarra termed Russia's support to Mali as a manifestation of the very fruitful partnership. Last month, Mali received 2 Russian-made combat helicopters and radars shortly after reports that its defense minister and Air Force chief discreetly visited Moscow. State media widely publicized the reception and hailed Russia's growing support for Mali in counterinsurgency operations. Mali has defended relations with Russia after international backlash of a decision to deploy mercenaries from the controversial Wana paramilitary farm in December. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Russia's largest-scale offensive in eastern Donbas region is underway. Moscow claims to have struck more than 1,000 targets overnight. Its forces have been trying to break through defenses in Donetsk, Luhansk and Kharkiv regions, Ukrainian officials say, but Ukrainian forces are making some successful counterattacks south of Kharkiv, according to military analysts.
And in the sports arena, second-placed Liverpool will be looking forward to securing a win which will see them settle in the first position of the English Premier League when they take on Manchester United at Anfield tonight. The Reds manager Jurgen Klopp is likely to make changes after the FA Cup semi-finals win over Manchester City.
Liverpool are back in the Premier League action after the FA semi-finals win over Manchester City as they host Manchester United at Anfield, in mind that victory or draw will put them temporarily top of the Premier League table, with leaders Manchester City not playing until tomorrow.
I don't think that a club like Manchester United can afford to take that to take 3 or 4 years in order to achieve that, and I don't think that it is necessary. We spoke about Liverpool